You're listening to Happiness Rocks Radio. Here we tune in, we tap into the feeling of health and wellness. So happy you're here. Hey, and welcome back to the show. I missed you. It's so nice to speak with you again. I'm going to begin with a quote, and this is by Aletheia Luna. This will set the foundation of what today's big takeaways are. As empaths, we are not here to be sponges or enablers. We are here to be helpers, guides, and supporters. And I'm starting with this quote because I really do feel strongly that there is a theme in the listenership of this podcast. Those of you who have messaged and have, left reviews, etc., or maybe we follow each other on social media, there's the common theme that we are sensitive people. And I mean that in a really good way. Your sensitivity is deeply wise. It's connected. It's intuitive. It's powerful. And it keeps your best interest at heart, and it keeps the collective's best interest at heart. Depending on our life situation, our sensitivity may have been really celebrated and recognized as a strength, or it may have not been recognized as a strength, and maybe it was recognized as a weakness. And so if it was, we tend to just kind of fall away from that ability. We tend to just kind of ignore it or not see it as valuable, when really it is something that we all do have, and when we're connected to it, it is a really beautiful thing. Now, today's guest, Eric, he is a Pulsor practitioner, which you're going to hear about what that is throughout the episode. To give you a little brief idea before we get into it, Pulsors were invented by a NASA scientist. So there's a lot of science backed behind these. And also you're going to hear a lot of the feeling side of it through my experience, because I actually work with Eric. So I have had many sessions with Eric, and I've had great results. If you want to work with him, he does do long distance sessions as well as in-person ones. So don't let that deter you. But what the really big message and takeaway for me is with this episode, given that I know you and what you are like and maybe what you need to be reminded of, is the fact that Eric is a very connected, intuitive person. His work found him, his abilities found him when he was just a kid, and his parents really celebrated that part of him. So he is really good at sharing how to connect deeper with your energy and how to see that as a strength. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Sit somewhere comfy, maybe pour yourself a nice tea. Eric has a lot of knowledge, and he talks in just a really nice, peaceful way. So enjoy this conversation. Okay, Eric, welcome to the studio. Super happy to have you here. We're going to talk about the Pulsors. We're going to talk about what you do later in the show. But for now, let's just have a little conversation about energy and what it feels like to be a highly sensitive person.
Usually when somebody would be, their energy flow is really good, it's somebody that would be obviously grounded well. Somebody that have their energy well is, they're going to be energetic. They're going to be just like a glass of water, it's going to be overflowing because you're adding too much water into that glass. Your energy is going to be doing the same thing, and it's going to not interfere, but it's going to also going to mix with other people around you. So when you walk, for an example, when you walk into a room that a whole bunch of people are having fun and laughing, and you get in there, it's easy to get into their energy and then start having fun with them too, no matter what your day was. So somebody that is, their energy is very well calibrated will affect other people around them. They're going to be in a happy state. Their body themselves is working correctly like it's supposed to. Their digestive system is working well. They're going to be sleeping well. They're going to be positive in their mindset. And they're just flowing that positiveness everywhere they go.
From an energetic you know, you see energy, you feel energy. Can you describe that from that place?
For me, it's mostly that I feel energy. Sometimes I do see, but in most, I got to concentrate to be able to see. For me, my sense is mostly feeling it. And I got many stories on that, how it feels. But when you can blindfold me if you would like and bring me around somebody, and I could tell you right away how they are mentally thinking, because what you think is what you project within your energy. I have some friend actually tell me that I'm a mind reader, which I'm not. It's just whatever they're thinking, they project into their energy, their aura of their body, and I pick up on that. And so I'm capable of feeling a lot of what is going on with the other person's energy and what mental state they are at. And the more healthy you are, the bigger your aura is going to be, the more receptive it's going to be for me. The more sick a person is, the smaller the aura is. So then we got to do a lot of work to bring that back up. But I can definitely feel like even with my wife, a lot of time when we drive around, I'll tell her the person is driving in front of us when he's going to turn or what he's going to be doing, just because I can feel, okay, the person is thinking, okay, I got to drive here, I got to go there. And I'm feeling that thinking process that they're going through, and I can feel their energy while they're driving, and I know where they're going. Wow. Not all the time, but it happens quite often. Many times a week I can detect that, and my wife, it freaks her out every time.
And you know what? They say that we all have these abilities.
Yes.
Being so tuned into energy, do you feel you have to sometimes distance yourself from it to protect your energy?
Yes, a lot. Before I met Virginia, when I was a kid with the Pulsors, it was extremely overwhelming for my body and my brain, because when I was just walking in a shopping mall and I was seeing people pass by, I didn't know that back then because I was a kid. We were talking about 8, 9 years old. People were passing by me, and if somebody was just really mad passing beside me, my whole side of my right side was getting super cold. And then I could see a happy child that just got a new toy that's all excited passing to my left, and then my left side was super hot.
Wow.
And when you're with a lot of people and your brain is having a hard time processing your own personal emotion, and then you're feeling everybody else's emotion, so yes, it does become quite overwhelming. But with the Pulsors, I was able to protect myself from that, plus some techniques that I've learned also over the years to so it doesn't become too much overwhelming for me. Yeah.
Any tips on just protecting your energy?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. There's a few different techniques you can do. One which is the best, obviously, I'm going to say to wear some Pulsors on you, so that's definitely going to help you to protect yourself.
And listeners, we will get to
yes.
it. We will get to it.
Also, if you want little tricks, if you didn't have a chance to come and see me yet or anything like that, one of them, which I've done at the beginning, and now I got a better technique, but that's definitely the easiest one, is you can rub your hands together and create that heat with the friction of your hands. And when you're creating that heat, it's basically creating energy. That's why you're feeling the heat. And then you can envelope your body with that. So pass your hand on top of your head, underneath your feet, all around your body, and that will create that kind of shield around your body. So that's one easy way to do it. You could also do it in one of the training that I was taking. They were telling us that every time you get out of the house, which is actually really good practice to do, always armor yourself. So try to visualize yourself as way back in the days when the kings and princess and all that, and we had the warriors. They were having this big costume shield on them in metal. So every time that you put your jacket on or you put your hat during summertime or whatever it is, you imagine putting that big metal shield on your body. So that way, energetic-wise, it will create whatever you visualize, just like of the act of visualization. When you visualize having that shield on you, your aura will do that demand that you're visualizing and actually put that shield on your body. So when you do go to those places, it won't affect you as much. And the third way, which is the one that I use the most, because I work a lot on the spiritual side, and that one is the one that works the best for me. I visualize and ask Christ in front of me, and I visualize Christ being arms up, standing up straight, and he's in front of me. And then you can see his robe that's going to be from one side of his wrist to the other side of his wrist, and that his robe is protecting me. And then I do the same thing behind me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ on top of me, and then Christ underneath me. And I visualize all of that every time. And if you are very relaxing when you do that, and at the end you say Christ around me, and just envelope another Christ behind you, envelope with his robe, all of the Christs together around the body. When you do that, you will feel the heat. If you're very in tune, very grounded and intuitive, you will feel that heat of Christ protecting you. And that's the best way so far, and that the one that I do personally to myself and also my wife when we go into public. And you can use that technique for anything. If you had to do an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, if you're going see some family members or in-laws that you know their energy is not too good and you always feel drained when you go see them, but it's family, so you need to go see them sometimes. That's another way of protecting yourself, so it won't affect you, it won't drain you as much. It's whatever resonates with you, whatever brings your vibration higher, brings your vibration up, makes you feel good inside. It doesn't matter what it is. If that's what it is, that's what your passions go for, that's what you're called upon, and go there.
You were a kid when you first started feeling this stuff.
Yes.
But the career you do really found you. Tell me a little bit about that.
I'm a Pulsor practitioner. I'm the only one in the Maritimes. It's a very rare type of career. Basically, what I do is it's energy work, and we use the Pulsor. So that's the tools that I use to help people with their energy at different level, at different situation. And each pulsar is vibrated different vibrations. And so I work with that. I've learned this technique from Boston with Virginia Lucia, which is my personal mentor. And so we help people to be able to heal themselves. I don't heal anything, but by doing the Pulsar session, we help the body to be able to heal itself, because everybody knows their body's capable of healing. If you cut yourself, your skin will heal on its own. You don't need to do anything. It's going to do it on its own. Well, your body's capable of doing much more than just healing a little cut. It can do a lot more, and that's what we help the body to be able to achieve, that level of healing, so we can help everybody with different type of health issues. When I was a kid, there was a lot of stuff that I was doing intuitively. And my mother, which is, I'm very close with my mom. She's a pre-indigo woman. So she soon realized that I was an indigo child. There's two different types of indigo. There's one is going to be the rebellion, which won't follow the laws that we're being put in. So those people are very good to break the mold, to help society to move forward in the right direction. A lot of times, those people are called black sheep of the family, a lot of times.
I'd like to say purple sheep.
Yes, I like that, actually. Yeah, you said that before on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then you also have the indigo child that was like me, people that are, a lot of time, they were very high intuition, works with energy, can see stuff that other people can't see. They're going to be able to, if we can just put a visualization on that, like some people can only see not further than their nose, that they can't see the repercussion of their action, they can't see like the decisions they make, what it's gonna have in the future. And other people that can see like 5-10 years in advance, like, okay, if we do this is the vibration effect's gonna be that and that and that. And so indigo people will be able to see more of that kind of stuff like that, because their intuition is very more connected than regular people.
So really, really connected to the earth, but really, really connected to
everything.
Yeah.
So it could be the earth, it could be the spiritual, it could be the energy, it could be intuition with other people. So you're just, some people call them weird when they don't understand, because they're just so advanced human beings. Their soul is an old soul compared to other people. Yeah.
And then once you start embracing that part of you, you start, attracting those types of souls into your life as well.
Light attracts light.
Yeah.
So to coming back with the story is because of my mother, she saw that I was an indigo child, and she learned books about that. So she started guiding me. It's like, okay, you're going to need some help with your intuition. Make sure that I use what I have in the right direction, the right way, to help people, and not to use as an ego or use against other people. So I did a lot of training when I was a kid outside of school.
That's amazing.
A lot of different stuff.
What an amazing mom you had.
Oh yeah, she was an amazing woman, and because of her health issues, that's when the whole pulsar situation came up. So she had scleroderma and polymyosite, which is two different diseases, which is incurable. And my mom used to be a nurse, so when she found out that she had that, going through the doctors, they find out that it was incurable, she couldn't do anything, and the doctor gave her 3 years to live tops because she was so advanced when we found out. So she says, okay, well, if the medical field cannot do anything about this, then we got to go in a different direction. So my father started to do a lot of research online. Internet was just starting to get out at that time. He started to do some research about essential oils. He started to do research about energy work with different people, and some about some vitamins, how to eat healthy, etc. So through a lot of people talking around and experimenting and learning, we found out about Virginia that was in Boston, which was working with the Pulsors. And after explaining to my father what it was, he asked her to flew into Grand Falls, where I'm originally, and start giving treatments to mom. And since I was very in tune, she was playing around with me. So I was looking around and I was very curious. And when she was, while she was doing the treatment to my mother, she was taking some pulsars and she's like, just playing around. She's like giving me one of the pulsars. It's like, what do you feel with that one? So I'm like, And I just pay attention. I'm like, oh, this is an aggressive energy. This is very powerful energy. She's like, really? And she was giving me the angel pulsar, and which is it's a level 1, and it's to eliminate big blockage. And then she's like, that's nice. Then she gave me another pulsar, which was a much stronger one. I'm like, oh, that one is more fine energy, but much deeper energy. It goes really, really deep into you. It's like, oh, that's a level 2. That's really good. And then she goes and gave me another one, level 3, and I'm like, whoa, this is way, way, way powerful. It's like even a smaller, if you want to have a visual, like a smaller cone, a tunnel, but it's very like laser point energy, and it's like very precise to what it works. And then I was seeing some colors with them. So she played with me with a lot of different pulsars. And then she turned around, looked at my parents. She's like, he's very, very in tune. So if you would like, I can train him. So while I'll be back in Boston, I can give my mother some pulsar session to keep her as high as possible between sessions. And that's how the whole situation came. And then I started giving sessions to families and friends, and did that for years and years and years. And until one of my friends had told me to, like, I can't keep that to myself. I got to get into business and help other people. And that person helped me start the business and go from there, because she had fibromyalgia and she couldn't take any medication, and she was in pain because she was pregnant at the time. And she's like, and my wife nudged me and she says, you should give her a session there and help her with that pain. And I didn't know back then with her how open she was with the energy. So I started explaining to her, and she's like, you know what, at this point, I don't care. I'm in so much pain, I'll take anything. And it did such a big difference on her the first session that even her boss during the next week noticed a difference with her. She says, you have more energy, you're not limping, because she did have a low limp. And she says, like, what is going on with you? What did you do this weekend? And she's like, I didn't do anything, but she didn't think of it for a second. And during the day, she's like, oh yeah, Eric gave me a pulsar session. And then she went to see her boss and explained to her what I did. And she's like, well, whatever you did, keep doing it, because, I mean, you're productive to, of course, her boss like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's how we got started with the whole business and helping other people. Now I'm helping people all over the world right now.
Yeah, because you can do this like from a distance.
Yes,
but I want to ask, how old were you when you started being trained to do this, like as a kid?
Yeah, so when I started, I think I got my first pulsar session. I was 12 years old, so that's when she was testing me. So she was coming down to my place, my parents' place, I should say, for every couple of months. And every time she was coming, that's when she was training me. So I was, that's a bit vague in my head, but if I'm not mistaken, I was no older than 13 years old. So I think it was while I was 12 to 13, that's when she was starting to train me. And Dr. Yao, which I'm going to touch about a little bit later, he's the one who invented the pulsars. He personally knows me because Virginia talked to him about me. And then when he said, like, okay, show Eric this and this and this. And then she was coming to Grand Falls and showing me some techniques. And then when she was going back home, and he was like, okay, you show that to Eric? Yeah, okay, next time show him this and this and this. So he was mentoring her to show me how to work with a pulsar at such a young age, because When you work with energy, you got to be very, very, very careful with that. And since I was so young, still developing, you want to make sure that I was not overdoing it with my mother that had such a huge case, and me that was such a young guy that is being so sensitive. So I had to be very careful with that. But yeah, around 13 years old when I started with doing the Pulsor session with Mom.
Wow. I mean, to look at them, you'd have no idea. You'd have no idea.
You wouldn't, unless, like, yeah, you look at it and, like, yeah.
They almost look like weights. You know those weights that you put on dumbbells?
So the pulsars are also a very good question, actually, that I get quite often. The pulsars are made out of microcrystals. So, and the microcrystals, not to be confused with quartz crystals. These are laboratory made to have specific vibration to work with. And some of them are piezoelectric microcrystal, which is a mouthful to say, but those ones, like I said, we had different pulsars, right? So we have the microcrystals ones and the piezoelectric microcrystals pulsars. Those ones do not emit any energy unless they are within the aura of the person. So if it's just on the table, it's doing absolutely nothing. It's just a piece of plastic that does nothing. But once it gets within your aura, that's when it activates. It stimulates the microcrystal inside to start doing the work that needs to be done on your body. So you got to be very careful which pulsar you're using for a person not to overwhelm them, first of all, and also to make sure that you're doing what their body needs at that day, at that moment, with a specific pulsar to work with. The one that you're holding in your hands right now is one that vibrates all the time. For an example, that one is the galactical pulsar, and that one has all three lights. So you have the mental, physical, and emotional vibration being pulled out of your body, and then it turns out at 180 degrees and come back as a white light. So it's continuously filtering your energy, and it vibrates at 7.832 hertz, which is the same vibration as the mother's heartbeat, or also the same vibration as the Earth, the planet Earth. So it helps you to ground yourself. A very multitask pulsar, protects you from electromagnetic field, plus the healing part that it can do also. So it's a very nice multitask pulsar.
Do you sell these for personal use?
Yes, we do.
You do?
Yes.
So say somebody wanted something like this.
Yes.
Would you just need one, or?
It depends what you want to do. So that specific one, if you would like to, like there's, that kind of come in two different kind of questions. I'm going to divide that in two there. So pulsars will protect you from electromagnetic field coming from cell phones, towers, etc. We're bombarded by EMF every day, and that energy is very bad for your health. So some pulsars made to protect you. So you can have wristbands, you can have necklace. There's pulsar plaques that are the same size as a credit card you can use, especially for men because we don't like to use necklace. So you can put that in your wallet and protect yourself. That's one way to do it. That one specifically is a therapeutic one, so you can use it as a EMF protection because that one does have that criteria. But you can also use it as working with it at home if you want to. So if you just want to protect yourself, you can buy just one. If you want to do more and use it as while you're meditating, you want to help your digestive system, you want to help to calm the mind down when you go to bed at night. If you want to do for helping with your blood pressure up or down, there's different patterns that you can do. You can use those three pulsars, different patterns on your body to stimulate or to relax or to help any issues that you have, or even release pain at certain cases.
The skeptics out there might be like, okay, so how can something like that, just a microcrystal, balance your energy? However, as I was doing research with all your videos you have up, I found out, I was reminded that many of our electronics have these,
yes,
microcrystals
yes,
in them
exactly,
to balance. So when you think of our energy field, this does the same thing because we are energy, everything's energy.
Exactly. So every computer's, your cell phone, your radio, and that's the best way to show. That's why I explain to my customers usually, like when you're using a radio, you can dial it to whatever channel you like to listen, 93.5, whichever channel you want. Well, the old radio, there was a dial, and when you were turning that dial, you were setting up at that specific channel that you wanted. And at that channel, there was a microcrystal that was put into that radio that only allow that frequency to come in, and it won't take all the other frequencies. Well, those microcrystals is something similar to what we have here, but we use specific vibration again to work with our own body, because our body is made of energy. We have different chakras that vibrate at different frequencies. The human body is very complex, so when it comes to frequencies, you'll have like the emotional, you'll have the physical, and you'll have the mental vibration. Those all have specific vibration. And again, if we go with the pulsars, a lot of people have heard the word delta or theta vibrations. The delta vibration, which is delta is 1 to 3 hertz, which is a level of sleeping, but it's also a vibration of the mind. You also have the theta, which is 3 to 7 hertz, which is at your deepest sleep. That's when you dream, which is very relaxing, obviously, when you're sleeping. When we use those pulsars, it induces that energy to work on your mind to release memories. So we have specific vibration that we work with to do different type of work on the body, on the person.
I think that when you're in that state, information can really come in and land and become a part of you. Like, we get to talk with and connect with something that is just so beautiful, and that is the spiritual world. So why do we connect so easily to the spiritual world when we're having a pulsar session? Like, explain this to me.
When we work with the energy, with the pulsars, it brings your personal vibration much higher. And while I'm doing the pulsar session, I'm doing the same thing too. I have a whole bunch of pulsars on myself to protect myself from the other person's energy. I don't want to get their problems that they have in their life. So when we are doing the pulsar session, because of both of our vibration goes higher, if you look at a scale, if you look at like some stairs, so the human body will be like the first, second, or third stairs if you're very high energetic, and then you'll have the angels and the archangels would be like at the 20th or the 30th stairs up. And when we put the pulsars on us, it brings us maybe to like 8, 9, or 10th stairs. So it brings us much, much closer to them. And when they need to give some information to a person for helping in their life in whichever situation they might be, it's easier for them to get down a little bit lower, but not as low as they need to, because the lower the angels need to go in vibration to speak with us, the less comfortable it is for them. Obviously, they like to stay in higher vibration rate.
Well, it's probably like a resonance thing too.
Yeah.
If we're not vibing at that frequency,
we can't listen to it, we can't hear it.
They can't match us.
No, they cannot match. So you need to be open to it. And since when we have a pulsar session, you are, 1, very relaxed. 2, your mind is calm. Right there, you're already just like meditating. You're already in a better state. Plus, you'll have the pulsars on you that brings your vibration even higher. And from that, the connection is much, much closer now than it used to be in just a regular day-to-day time. And when we have that situation happening, when the customer is ready, it does not happen every time. It happens when they're ready, and it happens for whatever they need to hear. But we did have quite a lot of time that somebody that has passed away that's been very close to us, like they show themselves in a way. Sometimes the customer does realize it, that they're there, and sometimes they don't, but they'll tell me a message, and a lot of time I don't know the story, so for me it makes absolutely no sense. But when I translate what they're saying to me and then telling the customer, and then tears start to come down, or they start reacting to it like, oh my God, this is this person or this person. So that kind of situation has happened quite often with different customers telling them messages that they need to hear. One of the most often thing that happens actually is basically when your guardian angels need to speak to you, or your spirit guide need to guide you in your life. Sometimes people have some questions to which direction to take in their life or what to do next, if they have like a why kind of situation in front of them. And that's when a lot of time that the spirit guide will speak to us and guide them in the right direction to help them through whatever they're going through, if they're ready and if they need to do, because I cannot control that. That just happens on its own. I've seen customers trying to ask me questions and like, oh, I want an answer with this. And sometimes the answer is good to have, and sometimes you need to walk the path. And when you need to walk the path so you can learn something, they will not give me the answer. they'll give me hope, they'll give me something to stimulate or to encourage them, but they will not give me the answer. But sometimes they do give the answer because the person is ready for the next step in their life. So that's the
So it's kind of like we're meant to feel the density.
Yeah. We all have our burden that we need to learn. We all have our karma to work with. And some people will say like, oh, God gave me this or whatever. And it's not necessarily that you already, before you came on earth, that decision was already made and approved by you to go through that learning curve that you need to learn. I take it as a learning curve and not as a burden. But you're the one who decide how heavy the burden is and how long it's going to be. Some people take their whole life to learn one lesson. And other people, as my wife as an example, she's a young woman at 35, and she already has the accumulation of 5 lives done in her life here of accomplishment, just because she wants to grow and learn as much as possible. So you'll have a lot of difficult stuff to go through sometimes, but it's because it's to help you to grow even faster so your soul can learn and grow and vibrate higher much quicker. So depending on the people.
I would love to know your tips on fast tracking this.
Learning, definitely learning, and take responsibility. So if you are going through something difficult, we can go really deep with that kind of stuff, and I don't want to go too much with this, but if you're going through something difficult, you're the one who decide how long it's going to be, like I said earlier. So learn what you need to change as a person, not the other person around you, not her, not him, not change them. Look at yourself and see what you need to change. Like Michael Jackson said in one of his songs, right? You want to change the world, change yourself. You start there, because every time you help somebody, you didn't help one person, you help 10, 20, or 30 people, because that person is going to use that knowledge and help somebody else in the future. So each step, it has a ripple effect that you're doing. So when you're going through something difficult, you're going to learn that, and then you're going to be able to use what you've learned through that difficult moment to help somebody else that's going through the same thing in the future, right? Learn why and how, and there's going to be some homework to be done, obviously. If it's something relationship with the family, it could be a karma from a past life that you went through and you were mad at that person and you never forgave them, and now in this life, guess what? They're back in your life. Why? Because you didn't forgive them the last life. So you need to learn to forgive them, not necessarily for them, but for you, to take that burden off of your shoulders and grow from it.
I definitely 100% have come to know that I fully believe in past lives. Absolutely. There was a time in my life where I didn't. So I want to just bring this point out to any listener out there who may not be there yet, or maybe you won't be there in this lifetime. Like, I don't know. I mean, we all have our different perspectives,
yes.
But another way to look at past lives is, if you don't resonate with past lives, look at it in this life. That thing will keep repeating. Yep. That problem, that
yes.
cycle, that pattern,
exactly.
that person.
And it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Like I always say, and it's part of my book that I'm writing too, is like, listen, continue until lesson learned. So if you didn't learn the lesson at the first time, usually the lessons are pretty small at the beginning. Yeah. The first time it occurred, it happens, and you're like, oh, okay, and then a lot of people just brush it off because it's so small, it's so tiny, who cares? And then later in life, and it comes again, but now it's like double the size. And then you're like, okay, it kind of hurts, but whatever, we'll brush it off because I don't have time, I'm too busy. And then people keep pushing and pushing, and then go further away, and then the lesson comes again, and then it's hitting even harder. And a lot of time, people start to react when their life is in danger. That's when they start to say like, okay, I got to address this now. Like, this is taking a toll on my life, on my health. And that's when people are start to change. But guys, you can do that before that. Don't push it off. It just gets harder and harder.
We do have a choice in how we navigate this stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, that reminder of patterns will keep showing up.
Yes.
The pain will keep showing up until we look inwards and take responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's so easy to try to point your fingers and blame the people who are triggering you or being terrible to you, or like, it's so tempting to look at the person who caused you pain.
You're saying that, and I agree 100%. And if you, like, I know I'm going to do the motion here and people can't see me, but you can do it yourself too. But when you point at somebody, my father was always telling me that you have one finger pointing at the other person, but you have 3 more that is pointing directly at you.
Yeah.
So that shows that look at yourself first.
Yeah.
And a lot of time when you don't like something about somebody, it's because it's a part of yourself that you don't like.
Yeah. That's another point too, is like when you're focusing your energy out on that person who really hurt you or continues to hurt you, you can put your focus on them and what they're doing. Where's that energy going? What is that?
It's a negative side,
right?
Yeah.
I shared it on my Instagram. I found Wayne Dyer's meditation, and it's connected with sound. You know how sound is such a healing.
I'm working on that right now, yes. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm learning about this right now.
Oh, it's great.
It's amazing, the
and he
detox
just
you can do with that.
Like, he has you visualize your intention. And for me, a lot of the times it's taking my power back.
Exactly.
And he has you visualize it and bring it from your root all the way up to your third eye. And he has you speak your intention, and then you say, like the ah sound. Or you could do the sound.
The ums, yeah.
And
it's powerful.
Man, is that powerful.
It's powerful. It vibrates, like, even though when you're doing you can feel the vibration in your brain. Like, you feel in your head, the resonation within the bones of your head there. So it's very therapeutic and very good for the brain, yes.
Yeah, and I used to be closed-minded with that sound. Like, I'd be like, I'd almost make fun of it. Like, after a yoga class or something, just like it didn't feel authentic. But when you honor what it is it the sound of creation?
Yes, actually.
Yeah. Like when you honor that.
The sound of creation, sound of the connection of the divine to, the divine light.
And I believe when we sing these healing frequencies, we connect to the higher realms as well.
Yep.
That would be an easier way to connect with our guides or our angels, or
like even the monks when they're doing their therapy session, when they're doing all together, their room is designed that when they're doing that, it projects that specific frequency that they want to work with. You have different rooms for different frequency if you want to work on different type of stuff. So it helps to heal the whole body, and that's the part I'm actually learning as we're speaking the past couple of weeks, and I'm testing some of this stuff myself, and I'm noticing the difference that it makes on my mind. There's one just on YouTube video. There's one video, just the sound of that vibration every time. I've done it 3 times so far, and just 3 seconds after I started, I had a headache every time. And I test with a spin tester, which is made out of Pulsor, obviously, and just to see how my body's reacting to this frequency and seeing do I need this? And it was saying a big yes. So it was helping my body to detox itself from everyday life stuff, the food that we eat, the pesticide, all that. So it helps the body to eliminate in a different way than the Pulsar does, obviously. But it was quite therapeutic, and I kind of liked it. I still got the headaches. That part's not fun, but I know I'm detoxing myself with that. So it's quite powerful, those sound vibrations.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself, but remember that it's always a choice. Now, I know you do long distance sessions, and
yes.
I will say, when you sent me the info for what you need for this, I was like, ooh, it almost sounds creepy. But you're not creepy. So I just want to touch on this first, because a lot of my listeners are all across the globe. Yes. We have many in the New Brunswick area, but we have people everywhere who listen. Yes. So let's take the creepiness out of what we need for the long distance session. Okay?
Yes. So when we do the long distance Pulsar session, I need a few different things. And so the things that I need is a picture of the person, all the front of the body. And
clothed.
Yes, and I specify that every time.
Yeah.
So the front of the body and the back of the body. So that will represent your full body when I'm going to be working with Pulsars. Okay. And again, yes, fully clothed. I'm also going to need your full signature on both pictures. So the signature itself, when you sign that, you're putting your energy into that picture. So there's only you that has your signature. Nobody can duplicate that. And when you're putting your energy with that signature, it's like a fingerprint. So nobody else in the world has your fingerprint. So when you put your signature with your energy in there, that's like your fingerprint. So that way, when we do the energy healing, it will be directly to you and nobody else around or between us. And I also asked for a little bit of hair. It's because the 5-element pulsar, they work right up to your DNA. And when we want to help somebody to repair their DNA, we need a piece of their DNA. So if we're having their hair between the two pictures, at least I have a part of their DNA. So we can use the 5-element pulsars on them, which is a level 3 pulsar. That's the one that goes very spiritual most of the time. And we're going to be able to use the stronger pulsars on you and at a higher level, since we have a part of your DNA when we do that.
You get this stuff sent to you.
Yes.
And then the client has to be in session, even though they're not in person with you, they're energetically there. So
exactly. So we do the same thing as you would be with me in the clinic. So you'll be relaxing during that time. You'll take all the jewelry off of you, because metal do attract energy. So we don't want to have anything interfering with the broadcast of the energy going to you. And also you'll be relaxing during that time, and keep the cell phone away, obviously, because also that could break the energy down. And when it comes to on the other side, when we work with the energy, like anybody that have done like training with Reiki or trauma or any type of energy healing, they all know that when it comes to energy, there's no time and there's no space. So it's the same thing as doing the pulsar session directly on a person at that moment. So when we do the session, I'll have the same channeling with the angels during that time. I'll feel what the other customer is feeling. The customer will feel what I feel on my side. Like if when we're doing the session, we'll say, just an example, your liver is in very bad shape. And as I'm doing the pulsar session, when I get close to the liver, or on top of the liver, I might be feeling some pain while it's coming out, some weight. It's going to be very, very heavy. And the other person probably going to be feeling some coldness coming out of their body at their liver spot when I'm doing this. So we're connecting both of us. We're both working together, and we're both going to be feeling how the session is going. So if I feel some heat that's coming out, that's going to be like the healing part, which is very good. Also, the customer will be feeling heat at that specific spot. I'm not saying 100% everybody. There are some people that are very blocked, and it takes them a lot more. But most of the time, I'll say like 80% to 85% of the time, the customer will feel during the session, and if not, they'll get definitely the results after.
I really want to hook the listeners with this story about your mentor, Virginia, who worked with somebody who had severe PTSD from the horrific incident that happened in New York with the towers.
Okay, the New York story.
Okay, so this will give perspective of what this type of healing can do for your emotional well-being, your physical, your mental.
Yes.
So let's talk about this.
Okay, so this specific customer of hers, this whole situation, the 9/11 in New York, this lady was there during the whole crash. So she was working as a waitress, just a couple of buildings beside the Twin Towers. And that morning, she's a figure skating woman, so she has very strong legs, and she rollerblade at work every day. So obviously that morning she had her rollerblade and she put that in the back. And when the first airplane hit, she was telling all the customers, like, get out of here, because if some parts of the building starts coming down, it's going to hit us. So she got rid of all the customers, tell them to run away, not walk, but run away. So she told her two waitresses to do the same thing too. And she says, I'm going to go inside, I'm going to take my rollerblade, lock the place out, I'm going to go. So they all start running. She went inside, put her rollerblades on, and then she starts skating after locking the doors, obviously. And then the building starts going down as she was skating. So when she heard the building start going down, she really started to push. And she was passing a lot of people, and then she passed those two waitresses that she was working with. They didn't make it, obviously. The two pieces, there's some pieces that were dropping in front of her, actually. She was diverting them as she was skating. So the two girls didn't make it. She was able to go see Virginia to receive a pulsar session, which was with the 5 elements, actually. The silver ones, which works emotional, mental vibrations. And after the session, Virginia asked her, like, how are you feeling after this session? She looks at her and she's like, it's really weird. It feels like somebody would have told me the story. It's like, I know I went through it. I know it's me, but it feels like somebody would have told me that. There was no more emotional attachment to the trauma that she went through. And
so incredible.
Because it was so fresh. It was really new. It worked on the first session. it was got rid of it.
So there weren't all those layers.
Exactly.
But you would think there'd be so many layers with that level of PTSD that would be taken away from that experience. But
it works so deep and they're so therapeutic. And again, like I said earlier, the 5 elements works right up to your DNA, right? So all the layers from there, from the first layer to right up to your DNA, you're attacking a lot of different vibration, and it was able to release those memories completely out of her system. And when it comes to PTSD, and I don't want to get too much in the doctor's side of it, but your brain will crystallize those memories within the brain. And that's one of the reasons why you go see a psychiatrist or some people to help and talk to. It releases the emotion of what you went through, but the crystallized in your brain is still there, so it builds up after you leave. It starts getting progressive more and more and more until the glass is full, basically. You need to empty again, then you go see a specialist again, and you talk to them again, then your emotion goes back down. Well, the pulsar is capable of breaking down those crystallized that has been done into your brain and being able to flush it through your bloodstream and eliminate from your body. So that's why it doesn't come back after. That's the science behind it, that it's actually capable of releasing that. But if somebody would have went through a war or something, PTSD very, very traumatic, like 20 years ago, obviously it's going to take a little bit more than just one session. But definitely there's some hope that we can bring to that person and help them to release them from that.
Before we go, let's do a quick rundown of what it looks like for an in-person session. So you show up, comfy clothes.
Yes.
His office is really cozy and warm, soft, peaceful music playing.
Mm-hmm.
You do a little bit of testing on our bodies to ask our bodies what we need.
Yes.
What type we can what we can handle.
Yeah, exactly. The person just lay down on the table. I put the pulsars at strategic spots on their body, and then after we got all the pulsars installed on them, that's when the session starts. And I tell a lot of people, like, if you visualize me as a vacuum, so the energy goes through me when I'm doing the session. So I'll have the pulsar in my left hand, and that will be like the nozzle that you put, or the adapter you put on the vacuum. Then you'll have my left arm, which would be the hose for the vacuum, the pipe for the vacuum. And there's also a spin tester on my right hand, which is a pendulum made out of pulsars. That pendulum will act as a motor. So that's what's going to be creating the vacuum of energy block that we're going to be pulling out of the pulsar and out of you. And also there's like a metal bucket of salt water, and that bucket is like the bag where all the negative energy goes into. So we use salt water because not a lot of people knows that, but quite a few do. Like same thing as the ocean. The high tide and low tide is controlled by the gravity of the moon. That's why we have that. And we don't see that in lakes or rivers because it's salt water. The salt water attracts the energy. And that's why it's so therapeutic to actually go swim in the ocean, which I know you like to do also. Because it's very therapeutic. It takes out all that weight off your shoulder, and it's very good for the skin. It's very good for your health. When I spin out, that's the term we use to pull the energy. It all goes into the salt water, so to make sure that the energy doesn't go all over the room.
So why is it only negative energy that comes out?
Just because of the function of the pulsar itself. There is actually another way to do it, which I didn't practice too much because it's a little bit complicated to do, but in special case I will do it for somebody that has way too low energy, and it's called a double bucket. And you can actually put your feet in another just bucket of water, and all the positive energy will be re-entered back into you, so it energizes a person, and quite aggressively too. But the technique is more complicated to do. But just by the pulsar itself, it will drain you out. There's no question to ask about it. When people are leaving my place, they're so relaxed and they cannot get out of that relaxation mood.
Yeah, I definitely know that because I've felt it. But I was just curious about like how. I mean, I guess it's just similar to any energy healing. Like the good is channeled in, and then the bad is just, it has nowhere to go because the light is so much stronger.
Yeah, the physical body would adapt itself for the next 3 days. Okay. So I always tell my customer, next 3 days, stuff is going to happen on your body. So sometimes you detox, sometimes you sleep better, sometimes you're going to be more happy, you're going to feel light, your mind is calm, it doesn't race. A lot of stuff they're going to be happy on your mind. Like, hey, this is not normal that my body's doing this. Yeah, but it's recalibrating it back itself to its natural state. That's how you should be.
Amazing. And I'm just gonna end with this really cool little story of what I found out at my last session with Eric, or one of the last ones, I forget which one, but you guys have all heard my story. Well, if you're a regular listener, you've heard it. and it's called Intention is Your Superpower. And in it, I talk about the Dr. Emoto water experiment that I found. And that very summer, I had some like really profound things happen where the ocean was really teaching me that intention is so powerful. Like, it was almost freaky.
Yes.
So if you haven't heard it, go back and listen. Eric has since listened because he told me this in a session. He said, your spirit guide is associated with the ocean. And I just burst into tears.
That was before I listened to your podcast, because you never gave me that information.
No, I
yet.
didn't.
I didn't even know you do that. So.
You didn't even know.
No.
And so when you told me that, it sent me like my whole body was filled with chills and tears of gratitude, because it was like a confirmation of what I think I already knew, you know? So you told me that, and I just was like, I just felt so loved and taken care of and at peace, and like so much clarity of just having that confirmation. So after our session, I said, okay, Eric, I have a podcast. I can't believe that you told me that my guide is associated with the ocean. Because listen to this episode. So I wrote down the episode on the card. Listen, and he listened, and you know, I think he understands why.
A whole bunch of yours.
So
I love your podcast.
Wowed by like the fact that I was told that my spirit guide is connected to the ocean. And I mean, I don't know exactly what that means, but I know that those stories that happened to me this summer were not coincidence. And it taught me a very powerful message, and that was that our intention is so very powerful. And we talked a lot about intention today. So take what feels good from this episode, and I really do hope that this episode encourages you to take care of yourself and to use that power of choice and direct your energy and your intention in a way that helps you and others. Eric, in closing, do you have any words of wisdom for the listeners to take away? I mean, you shared so much today.
Yes.
But is there anything that you feel called to share to close?
Just one little thing for maybe some of the skeptics, if they actually stay until the end. The pulsar themselves are scientifically proven, which I've done the test myself with a nurse. It's repair damaged cells in your body.
Wow.
So when you come for a session, we repair damaged cells. If cells duplicate itself when it dies, right? It duplicates in two. So if you duplicate to 2 healthy cells, that's when your body starts to heal itself. And that's when we are able to help pretty much anything with people with different issues they might have. And I've done the blood test before and after the session, and you could see all the blood cells all jammed up together before the session. And after the session, you could see all the cells were all separated, they're all round, all nice, and you could see like they were healthy. And that's how the cells are capable of accomplishing their task in their body to heal and repair what needs to be repaired in the body. So there is some science behind what we've done. And Dr. Yao, that is used to work for NASA, that invented those pulsar, is an amazing gentleman. Bless his soul, he's up there now in heaven, but he's with us all the time. He's guiding me continuously to help customers to do different patterns, do what is best for the customer. And he's an amazing man for inventing those pulsar to help humanity as he did.
I think that's so important, to understand the science as well as the feeling. And I think that's how we're going to change the world. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for letting me hear, and you're doing an awesome, beautiful job. And I love your podcast, and everybody keep listening to her because she's amazing.
Thank you for listening to Happiness Rocks Radio. Remember to prioritize your own vibration.